Hey guys, and welcome to question time number 2. The first one did so well, we're doing a second one. And as we always do with the Q&As, what tends to happen is, that'll be it. So we'll do 2, and then we'll leave it a couple. No, I'm joking. I'm absolutely joking. No, first one did really well, Mark, didn't it? So it's got nice views. So we're gonna carry on as normal. Today's episode is, of course, sponsored by our Teespring store, but I will talk about that a little bit later, precisely after 4 questions, because that's how these things work. Anyway, how are you today, Mark? How are you feeling? How is your cough? How is your little sniffle? You're all okay, are you?
Yeah, the cough is still there. Just lingering cough as ever. But no, I'm feeling sort of fit and healthy. Everything's fine. But yeah, I think the problem is the more I talk, the more it kind of disturbs everything. So during the day, I'm usually quite fine because I'm not talking to anyone. I'm at home. But as soon as we start to do this, it starts to wake everything up.
Literally every other comment in the previous videos is like, "Is Mark okay?"
Yeah,
like, I know you have to realise. It's like, I've had jab, I've had tests. I don't have the COVID. I'm fine.
I've had two separate negative test results. So no, it's just man flu.
But doesn't 2 negatives make a positive?
In some instances, yes.
Cool. Anyway, enough about COVID talk. Let's have a good old chinwag and let's get your questions. Again, thank you very much for the questions. Lots came in. So again, if you haven't found, if your question hasn't been here, you know, it's not on today's episode, don't get too crazy because we had a lot there to sort through. Anyway, so the first one is from Robert Saltkill. Awesome surname, Robert. And he contacted us directly on Facebook. He says, Mark, greetings from America. I enjoy your tips for new divers. It's very much appreciated. I'm slowly trying to gather my gear, so I don't have to, continue renting it. My next piece is a first and second stage regulator set. Can you do a comparison of diaphragm versus piston, when to use each and why, and which is best for a new recreational diver?
Okay. Yes, I'll do a separate video on that. I'll do a deep dive. Nowadays, there's not a great deal of difference between sort of piston and diaphragm regulators. It's basically the way the insides regulate the pressure. If you went back about 20, 30 years, then there would be more of a substantial difference. So diaphragm regulators were always the workhorse, the sort of the tough, sort of simple regulator, but they weren't the most refined. So diaphragm regulators, they're very they're quite cheap. They're quite cheap to maintain as well, and very easy to maintain, sort of even in the field. Whereas piston regulators, they work in a slightly different way, and they were much more precise, but they gave a much sort of finer sort of breathe, as it were. So they were like your sort of Ferraris, but they were quite sort of expensive and fiddly to maintain, whereas the diaphragm regulators, they were your sort of Land Rovers, so they were kind of tough, and they could go anywhere. Nowadays, the performance is pretty on par. Unless you are an anti-test machine, you'd probably struggle to sort of notice sort of which was one or the other. But as far as which to go for, either, to be honest. In today's modern age, it doesn't make a huge sort of difference, even with maintenance costs. There's nothing wrong or nothing amazing about either of them, in my opinion. I mean, piston sort of always will be the best and kind of seen as the best, but actually diaphragm regulators are perfectly fine.
Cool. Is there anything, well, obviously he's talking about buying a new set of rigs, is there anything that you would recommend rig-wise for a new diver? Depending on, obviously, we're not too sure whether it's a cold water, warm water or whatever, but is there like a particular set?
No, I mean, I'd go for something that your local dive centre can service, because you need it serviced every so often. So there's no point in buying this really exotic regulator if you have to ship it to somewhere across the country or in a different country to get it serviced. And replacement parts are going to be much easier to get if you have a dealer sitting nearby. So look for brands that are readily available to you. But there are lots of good brands out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hope that helps out, Roberto. Hope you don't mind me calling you that. Well, it's too late now. I've already done it.
Little choice.
Yeah, little choice, Roberto. So the next one is from a fan favourite, someone who's been following our journey for a very long time, Scuba Steve and the underwater rock climbing. He left this video on one of our many daily decos that we've done. If I'm looking to go into side mount, but I don't want to break the bank, should I invest in BCD, or like a backplate system, or a regulator system first?
So probably your BCD, because you can't just side mount a stage cylinder on just any recreational BCD. It kind of has to be specialized for side mount. Regulators, you can rearrange the hoses and turn them into side mount regulators. So all you really need is just 2 second stages and 2 first stages and a couple submersible pressure gauges, but you can't really rearrange a standard BCD so that it's really suitable for side mount. So yeah, if you're going down the side mount route, then I'd sort of invest more in a BCD, something nice and customizable, something that really is designed for side mount, and then the regulators you can just use what you already have and then sort of upgrade on that at a later stage. So yeah, I'd focus more on the BCD and harness instead of your regulators.
Any advice on what to look for when it comes to BCD, like brand wise, or for side mount or structure?
Yeah, I mean, I like something that is adjustable. So you're looking at sort of X-Deep Stealths. The sort of Apex, the WSX range, they're nice and customizable. When they first arrive, they're a little bit scary and intimidating because you have so many adjustable bits and bobs compared to a standard harness. But once you have it set up just right, because side mount is all about flexibility, that's what you want. Just have a look around, talk to some actual sort of side mounters and sort of cave explorers, see what they're diving on, and then kind of make your decision based on that, because you don't want to buy something, you turn up at the dive site and your instructor just laughs at you. I had one person that did that. We recommended, and we're like, I wouldn't recommend buying that for side mount. He's like, oh no, I'll go for this, it's cheaper. And we're like, no, seriously, we'd recommend going for this one. And he's like, no, I'm going to go for this. So we're like, okay, fine. He flew from the United Kingdom to Mexico. He did his course, and his instructor basically laughed at him and said, oh no, you should buy this one. And he said, oh well, that's the one they recommended that I buy at the dive center. So yeah, like a month or two later, he flew back. He returns this BCD that he bought. He'd never used it, never got it wet, and he bought the thing that we recommended in the first place. So it happens, but yeah, it's important to kind of look around, because sort of side mounts, when I first started sort of side mount, it was a very different thing to what it is now. So my original side mount BCD is sat over there. I haven't touched that in years. I use it for parts, to be honest.
Thing you were whipping me with when I was last round.
What, a giant?
Yeah. You got in the shot.
No, if there's something on it that I need it, I just take it off that and use it on my actual set.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Cool. Hopefully that answers your question, and hopefully that gives you a bit of insight on what brands and stuff to look out for as well. So nice one, Mark. Nice one. So next question is from DBBoys. I don't know why I said it like that. Anyway, so it was on the warm water must-haves video. He goes, I would love to see your suggestions on how to carry your SMB. I have a lovely Halocline? I can't pronounce that. One, and a spool, but I don't have a neat / compact way to carry it. Even when rolled up in the elastic, it's a bit more, of a flappy snag hazard than I would prefer. So basically, how the hell can he tidy up his SMB, Mark? Is there a way?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is that it's called Halcyon.
Yeah,
the brand.
Yeah, I said that. I said that. House.
Yeah, so my DSMBs, they traditionally go in thigh pockets. If I don't have thigh pockets, then they actually end up on my crotch strap. It's nowhere near. So I have a kind of a bungee plate that attaches to my crotch strap on my sort of warm water rig, and it has a couple bungee loops, and that's basically where I kind of tuck my my DSMB. You can, on a backplate and harness system, you can tuck it sort of underneath the backplate, just kind of out of the way, but still when you need it, it's still quite readily available. Yeah, you don't want it just clipped off to, well, it's perfectly fine for most diving to clip a DSMB off onto a D-ring. You're not really going to be snagging on anything unless you're planning anything particularly sort of penetrative. But yeah, most of my DSMBs, they end up in thigh pockets just because that's the neatest, sort of most streamlined place to put them. And then when I need them, you can just unclip it, attach it onto your spool, and then send it up.
Cool, excellent. Have we done a video on DSMB, like storage and that? I don't think we have we?
I have, but that was on my other channel.
Well, that doesn't exist. So
that doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist. We're not allowed to do that. Maybe we'll add that to the list for the new year.
Yeah,
that'd be quite a cool video.
Yeah, when we get the new studio, that would be quite good to spend some time on that.
Cannot wait for that. Anyway, so hope that answers your question. Nice one, Mark. So the next one is from Luke Palmer. Again, this is a comment on the warm water must-haves video. He goes, "Hi, I'm Luke," and he adds the waving emoji. "I'm 13, turning 14 in December. Happy birthday for then, mate. I just got certified in August."
Cool.
Well done, well done. Congratulations. Welcome to the family. And I only have masks and fins. Is there any other gear recommendations?
Yeah. I mean, the next thing that I'd recommend is probably a dive computer. I know it's one of the more sort of expensive investments, but it's something that will grow up with you because if you start investing in sort of BCDs and wetsuits and whatnot, you're still growing, so you're going to grow out of them. But with a dive computer, it's just a watch strap, so that'll adjust with you. And dive computer is all about scuba diving safety, so the earlier you can get used to it and how it works and what it's trying to tell you, the better you're going to be when you're sort of growing up and scuba diving in the future. Other than that, probably a DSMB, a delayed surface marker buoy. Again, it's something for diver safety so that people can see you in the water. It means that you're going to be sort of spotted whenever you're sort of on or near the surface. But yeah, those would be sort of my recommendations: a dive computer or a DSMB, if you want something sort of more affordable, as it were. But yeah, a dive computer would be the best because yeah, it's for your safety and it can grow up with you. So yeah,
cool. And it's Christmas time. And
it is Christmas,
so you can ask that. And who just got the Terex?
You want a Terex, or
his first one. Like, if he's going to grow into it and he wants something for life, the Terex would sort you out.
It would last him forever. So, yeah,
you know,
that or a Peregrine. The Peregrine is a stunning dive computer. Yeah, when I was looking at the specs and then the price, you're like, ooh, they're throwing a massive hat in the ring or whatever the phrase is. Yeah, well done, Shearwater.
Plastic bag in the ocean.
A good thing they've done.
Okay, before I carry on with the questions, I think you guys know what I'm going to be talking about. Teespring, our very own Teespring store. So obviously we have our own merch store over at Teesprings. If you watch any of our videos, you will see a collection just a small collection at the bottom of each video. So if you want to stand out of the scuba diving crowd, you want a bit of Simply Scuba merch that neither of us are wearing today in today's video.
I might be. I'm not, but
I'm representing a Mammut, not even a scuba diving brand, a hike brand. Anyway, yeah. So we have what? Face masks, t-shirts, stickers, tote bags. Oh god, leggings, probably flags, towels, cushions, socks. You know, we have so much scuba diving merch for the scuba diver in your life. You know, so what you got to go and do, guys, after this video's finished, go over to our Teespring store. It will be pinned in the comments or at the end of this video, or it would have just popped up. Do a bit of shopping. Do a bit of browsing, pick a shirt. Obviously, you're going to need a face mask, and you want, if you're a scuba diver, you need to let everyone else know that you're a scuba diver, so you have to have a scuba diving face mask. You got you covered on that. And then, once you've filled your shopping trolley to the brim, you've selected every single item. At checkout, there's a little promo box. And at checkout, add in Daily Deco, that's all one word, Daily Deco, and you will receive 15% off of your total order. So your entire checkout, your entire basket, you will get 15% off, which is awesome. So you save a little bit of money, you get some scuba diving merch, and yeah, you stand out of the crowd. Unless that crowd has also been to our Teespring store and they have also bought all of our teas and everything like that. The hot seller at the moment is, of course, our traditional dive. And funnily enough, we've actually sold a lot of our face masks, which is really cool. Which are it's the red diver down. Even I myself, I don't know why I'm saying it like this is a shop or it's a thing. I purchased one myself, but naturally I bought it at cost because I can do that. So it costs, well, Simply Scuba got nothing from me. But you know, I still paid for it. Anyway, at checkout, type in the code DailyDeco for 15% off of your entire merch. Like I said, t-shirts, stickers, socks, you name it, it's on there.
Phone cases,
yes. I need to look into that a bit more. Maybe in the new year we're going to refine it because obviously the designs, they're done by myself, they're done by Mark, they've been done by previous graphic designers who used to work for Simply, and obviously we've got a whole new graphic team behind us in our new company that owns us. So yeah, new year, I think, Mark, we'll thin out the crop. Whatever doesn't sell, we'll get shot of, and then yeah, we'll get some really new funky designs. Maybe a safe diving tee, that might be quite cool.
Yeah.
Or what might even be better is a Stay Classy Scuba Diver tee. You notice it, Stay Classy Scuba Divers. But yeah, anyway, 15% off, promo code DailyDeco. I'm going to stop blabbering on about Teespring. So let's actually get back to what people want to hear, is the Q&A, because that's the whole point of this video today. So the next question is from Emma H89. I'm going to guess, Emma, that was the year you were born. And she left this question on question time number 1.
Yeah.
She says, how do you think we can promote UK diving better? I personally didn't start diving for many years after I should have, because I was under the impression that the UK waters are cold, scary, and have no life. I've met so many other people who say, who are fair weather divers, as she puts it, that only dive abroad, and it makes me sad that they don't give up home to see the incredible dives that we have here. So Mark, how can we help promote UK diving? No pressure.
Yeah, fix it now. You. Yeah, I think a lot of it is in sort of the advertising, because whenever we see on websites and sort of magazines, you see it's all blue water, it's all tropical, it's all that kind of stuff. And we don't see too much sort of cold water, sort of amazing sort of images and whatnot, but they are out there. It's just people don't really promote them because they like to sort of portray scuba diving as kind of warm water and happy. And there's a couple of reasons why this came about, and that's kind of industry trends. So when it sort of first, recreational scuba diving sort of first came out, it was quite a sort of a roughy-tufty kind of sort of sport or hobby, which it did well for kind of the lads. So it kind of sold to that kind of, it's all kind of dark and it's quite dangerous. It's scuba diving, So they got a lot of sort of younger, sort of 20 to 30 or 20 to 40 year old kind of males. But then a little while back, they were looking at the demographics and they're like, well, what we really want is to get families. So we need to change the image of the scuba diving industry from something dark and dangerous to it's safe, it's light, it's warm, it's something fun to do for the whole family. And then they started to see the kind of the female demographic start to rise and the younger demographic again start to increase. But of course, then the younger male who wants that kind of dark and dangerous, that demographic sort of started to drop. So it's that kind of catch-22. We need to sell the entire scuba diving kind of industry as, yes, it is safe. Yes, it can be warm and bright and clean and blue and all that kind of stuff. That's perfectly fine. But also, you can go here and you can play with seals. You can see nudibranchs off the British coast. There's plenty of sort of very vibrant, sort of aquatic and colourful life. It's just, okay, you have to wear a little bit more exposure protection, but it's not uncomfortable. If you're cold, then you're just not wearing enough exposure protection or the correct exposure protection. So, it's kind of for sort of places like us, the magazines and sort of online, just to show like British diving or sort of diving at home in colder climates a little bit more, because there is some amazing stuff to see out there. It's just you don't have to fly on a plane to go get it. You just have to invest in a dry suit or a thicker wetsuit.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if you do that sort of thing, that's probably like the cost of a flight anyway, but that's a one-time purchase.
Exactly, yeah, and you can use it again and again and again, so yeah.
What will be interesting is that, I mean, these sorts of stats won't be live till next year probably, but it will be interesting to see if there's an increase in UK diving based on both lockdowns. That will be interesting.
Yeah, I imagine training has dropped. But I imagine sort of people who are qualified are probably sort of thinking about it and at least trying it out. Is tricky. But it will be interesting to see the statistics on that.
Yeah. If you got any ideas, guys, about how we can promote the UK diving scene, and also as well, obviously a lot of people that are watching this, they're America. Our biggest audience is America. Is there any way, like, if you, obviously America's a very, very big place, so if there's any cold water diving scenes in your local areas, what have you done to help promote that? Let us know in the comments, and then hopefully maybe we can, I don't know, change the scene, see if there's a happy medium where the cold water stuff gets just as good as promotion as the warm water stuff. In all honesty, I can see it being more YouTube channels and advice, stuff like that, over generic adverts and stuff. Paddy, even though Paddy are gonna, they're gonna release, and they do release cold water diving videos and stuff. 90% of their stuff is gonna be glorious sunshine and turtles, and because again, that's what sells. But
well, one of the best things that I read, this was from, I forget which, but it was a Ghost Gear initiative. So they have teams and they go and they survey sort of wrecks and reefs that have sort of ghost gear, and then they lift it and they get it out of the ocean. And they said that's a very good way of getting people into like continuing to sort of scuba dive. So it's. If we could go down sort of that avenue, we have a two-part sort of benefit to get people into sort of surveying sort of wrecks and ghost gear, and then they eventually sort of form up a team, and then they're actually helping to remove ghost gear. Awesome. So that's another avenue that we can look for.
Cool. Yeah, as I say, any ideas, comments? Mark them down in the comments. Right. So the next question is from Ronnie. I do not want to butcher your surname. No doubt Mark is probably going to say it and show me up, but that's fine because we're used to that. But he left a comment on question time number 1. Again, he goes, around the diversity, I can't even say that word.
Diversification.
Diversification. I have not had enough coffee this morning. Around the diversification question, wouldn't it be good to have a dive shop promoting the brands that they like and not being dictated by the certification agencies they align with? I know and understand these agencies and brands do give benefits to the shops that align with them, but if we could decouple this practice, we would all benefit, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. That's a great question. Thanks for answering.
It's a tricky question, and from both sides of the training, you can argue kind of both sides. So some brands are tied in with some training agencies. The most obvious one is SSI and Mares. So if you're training sort of SSI courses, then you're often wearing Mares dive equipment and you're promoting Mares, but that should never kind of hold you back from selling other brands as well. It's tricky because there's that kind of inherent incentive for that dive center to only sell kind of Mares dive equipment because yes, it would they get a better margin on it, they make more money, which is it's good for the dive center because yeah, the dive center's making more money, but is that best for the students? Maybe not necessarily. It is a tricky question, but you're not under any obligation to buy that sort of Mares or whatever the brand is sort of equipment. You are well within your right to just go, oh, okay, yeah, that is very nice, but I'm going to shop around and see sort of what other brands there are. Do we need to separate sort of brand from training agency? Maybe. It probably would be better if it was a bit more independent. I mean, wherever I've worked, it has been like solely independent. Training had nothing to do with brand. So when we were sort of selling dive equipment to our students, it legitimately was what was best for the customer. Yeah, it is tricky because it does make the dive centers job a lot easier because you can sort of focus on one range of dive equipment and sell that sort of very, very well. Is that best for the student? It's not necessarily bad for the student, but it's not necessarily the best thing for the student neither. It's a very interesting question. It's a very tricky question to just say yes or no. In my ideal world, it would be completely separate. But for the dive center, it's quite nice to be able to guarantee that you're getting a better margin than another piece of dive equipment.
Yeah, cool. Also as well, like not based on the equipment, but like there are so many training agencies or like, whereas they were underdeveloped before because obviously not everyone wants to paddy. Not everyone wants to dive paddy. Not everyone wants to dive BZAC. So there are more and more diving industries and training agencies coming out. But because they're so fresh and they're so new, they don't always survive. So having a brand purchase them or teaming up with them will potentially mean that way of teaching or that diving school or whatever will actually potentially thrive because they're attached to something. So then there is something that's not necessarily the anti-paddy machine, but there's something there that isn't paddy but offers just as good, if not better, services.
Yeah, SSI definitely had a massive boom sort of soon after. Well, it was Head, the group that sort of bought them, but their scuba diving side of things is Mares, and yeah, all of a sudden SSI just started to pick up pace and boom, and it's becoming one of the sort of the real headlining sort of agencies. So if you search for scuba diving training, a few years ago it was just PADI. That was kind of what you saw, especially sort of where we are. But now SSI is starting to creep in, and a lot of instructors are sort of transitioning over to sort of SSI as well. So
which is good, because the industry needs that. Scuba diving shouldn't all be PADI. You need to have different regulations and all that sort of thing. There should be a fair playing field when it comes to competition. You don't just go to one and that's it. Yeah. Any thoughts on that, guys? Again, pop them in the comments. Just get the conversation flowing. Any ideas? Yeah, if we can drum up, we can save the diving industry. Not that it needs to be saved, but we can change it. Change it for
Boost
the
it.
better. Boost it. That's the word. Boost it. Cool. Anyway, I hope that either answers your question or puts your train of thought in a certain direction. Anyway, so the next question is from Brian Davies Scuba. Again, he answered this. We asked this question on question time number 1. It's a bit of a long one, so I'm going to fudge this up quite a lot, but we will try. So, do you think Advanced Open Diver Course's name... See, I already messed up the first line. Do you think Advanced Open Diver Course's name should be changed because everyone abbreviates it to Advanced Diver, which it is not? It is just an experienced teaser qualifications. What about scuba diver being the term for an open water divers and the open water diver being the term for advanced open water? I hope you're getting all this, Mark. Yes, I know PADI already has scuba diver for a partly trained diver. That should be called, though, like a novice diver. Advanced open water should then be 4 specialities, including depth, night, oxy, admin, and 1 elective, and a total of, saying, 30 dives in total in order for you to get that qualification. It's not a taught qualification, but an awarded, just like the Master Scuba Diver. I would also like to include first aid as a requirement as well. What are your thoughts then on names, courses, and I'm going to go and have a nap.
So what he's basically saying is that with if we just focus on PADI at the moment, because that's how a lot of people learn to dive. Your first course is known as open water. There is actually a sort of a half course already in there. So after you've done it's 2 or 3 of your open water dives, you've already gained a qualification. You are effectively scuba diver. But the reason why most people go to full open water scuba diver is that if you're just scuba diver, you have to dive with a professional. You can't just dive with any other sort of scuba diver. You have to be with a dive master or an instructor or higher. And then you go on to advanced open water, which is just 5 more dives, and then you're classified as advanced open water. I don't think anyone has ever liked the term advanced open water, because I think the main reason why they called it is because you are advanced. You've advanced a little bit further, but it's the other meaning of advanced means that you're like highly qualified. You're advanced. So it's that kind of double entendre kind of. So I mean, BZAC, they have open water and sport diver. So sport diver is a very ambiguous term, so that would probably be a better terminology for someone who's done these kind of specialty dives. It'll be hard. They'd have to literally uproot everything that they've done. They'd have to redistribute all sort of certification cards as whatnot, and that would cost hundreds of thousands. So yes, it would be better if they did sort of re-term the actual second course, your advanced open water, call it something like sport diver or something, or I don't know. I can't think of it. I keep going back to like specialist, but that's even worse. But yeah, and it would be good to rearrange, because at the moment, advanced open water, you have to do 5 specialities, but 2 of them have to be deep and navigation. So they're very important. The other 3 are completely up to you. But yeah, it probably would be quite good to kind of change that to sort of, oh, okay, here are your sort of 3 sort of obliged specialities that you have to do, or maybe even 4 include sort of first aid, because yeah, if something does happen, then yeah, it would be good to sort of put like EFR in, so that someone has done that, and then it's kind of on to sort of your rescue. It's quite a natural progression. As far as dive counts, that's just going to slow people down, because they're only going to be diving to sort of 18 meters before they get their dive count up to 30. And in my experience, a lot of people, they can go straight onto advanced open water just after sort of 4 dives, because you are with an instructor, you're still sort of gaining your skills, but it's all in a sort of a safe environment with your instructor kind of always there. So it's, yeah, I'm not too, I'd probably boost it up to maybe 10, just so that they're diving by themselves, because a lot of people, all of their diving is just training dives, and yeah, you go straight from open water to advanced and then straight onto your sort of rescue. You've never actually done any diving, just going by yourself, just with friends. So yeah, it is better if you can sort of get a few dives in, but don't make it sort of too many, because trying to get 20 dives, or even sort of 15 to get it up to 20 is that's a couple like weeks trips. So yeah, I probably wouldn't expand the sort of dive requirement too much. I'll probably move it up to 10, just so they do a little bit of diving by themselves, get sort of comfortable, and then they can sort of jump straight into advanced or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting topic.
It is, and it's one of those things that if you really do sort of sit down and spend a lot of time in, you can like just dig deeper and deeper.
I was going to say that's almost like a deep dive video within itself, just that question.
It's like children and scuba diving. There are so many blogs out there, and I started to sort of do something myself, and you just get deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of sort of how young should sort of kids sort of be allowed to sort of start scuba diving. And yeah, you can just keep going deeper and deeper, and then you read something else and you're like, oh well, yeah, that's kind of true as well, and then you read something on the opposite side and you're like, oh yeah, but that it's one of those kind of topics where you can just spend hours just debating by yourself, going backwards and forwards online. It's tricky.
I love debating by myself. It's the best way.
Kids watch this, Sean.
Moving on. No, they don't. Our
Said.
demographic is from 25 to 40. No kids watch this.
Despite Luke, who says he's 13, turning 14 next month.
That's not a real. He's a 45-year-old man. He's a catfish.
His number 2 key on his keyboard isn't working, so he just goes for the next.
Exactly that. That's it. Cool, man. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. You got any thoughts about it? Again, pop it in the comments. So the last question mark is a super complicated one. I thought we'll leave the hardest till last. It's from Anna. I'm not going to say your last name because Monterio. I said it. Anyway, so she left a comment on this question on the Hollis M1 mask review. She says, is this a good mask for small faces?
The Hollis M1, yeah, should be fine. I used to have one, but I've lost it. It's kind of one of those things where you go to your dive sort of locker and you're like, oh yeah, I've got one of these masks, and I just cannot for the life of me find it. So I've lost it. I actually have an M4 right here, yeah, it's a fairly small mask. So yeah, it should do fine. The skirt itself is a sensible size, and yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the M1 on a small face. It's yeah, it should do you fine.
Excellent. There we go. That's what I wanted. Big, long, complicated question and a nice little one to tie it off.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. All the questions are done today. Have you got anything else? You got anything to say, Marky Mark? Anything that you want to address other than having a fantastic weekend, everybody?
Yes. No, they were wonderful questions. Yeah, a good sort of range of sort of training and sort of dive equipment and recommendations. Yeah, I don't really get this much anymore since I don't sort of spend much time at a dive center the past few months. But yeah, it is interesting to kind of discuss, because as much as we like to try and sort of reply to your comments, it's sometimes easier just to talk about them, which is why we like to do these sort of Q&As. So yeah, if there is anything that you're sort of unsure on, or if you want any sort of content made in the future, like the diaphragm versus piston regulators, yeah, definitely sort of let us know, because otherwise we're just gonna think of stuff out off the top of our heads and just sort of make a video on that. But if there's anything that you specifically want to sort of see or learn about, then yeah, let us know, and we'll try and create a video on it. Obviously resources are a little bit sort of tricky at the moment. I don't even have a whiteboard to sort of write stuff down on, but yeah, if there is anything that you want to learn about in particular, let us know down in the comments below. Yeah,
what I'll do in the new year, I think, Mark, we'll do the we'll set up the votes again once the studio is back. Once we've got a studio, once we kind of have some sort of remnants of what it used to be like, but obviously better. Then yeah, we'll do the votes, and then we can let people decide what they want to do and what they want to watch. It'd be pretty cool. Again, thanks for Teesprings. You guys have been the backbone of this channel. If it wasn't for our Teesprings, this channel wouldn't exist. That's a joke, but yeah, again, get 15% off of all our Teespring merch. Head over to our Teespring store. It's pinned in the comments. At checkout, use the word or the code DailyDeco, all one word, DailyDeco, to get 15% off of your nice full to the brim checkout or basket. It's cool, man. Anyway, I'm gonna sign off now. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay classy, scuba divers. What would you like to say, Mark?
My classic sign off is just thanks for watching and safe diving.
No, it's not. It's.